Afternoon to everyone. My name's Lim. I run two groups, specifically in the technology space. One's ITF, where we focus on banking as a service, and Vision, where we focus on blockchain as a service. We primarily do technology, but we do some form of investing as well, primarily into the technology space.
Very glad to be moderating the session, but I'd like to give a little bit of context. The topic is an Asian perspective. As we know, United Nations had mentioned Asia include 48 countries, and Southeast Asia is 11 countries. So out of Asia, in the United Nations definition, actually include Qatar, Iran, and Israel. Southeast Asia countries, the 11 countries: Brunei, Burma, Cambodia, Timor, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam. The reason why I wanted to talk about that is I come from Perth, and now our state minister actually have a Minister of Asian Engagement, and they asked us to have conversation. Because Asia is a big country, a group with different developing status, and we, as Australian, it's very important to actually pitch to the right level. And you see in the last 30 years, we've got state-owned enterprises, and WA basically invested in the traditional areas, which we talk about is the resource and mining. And through my own context, it's actually not that successful. And I just want to put that as a context first. And we talk about early stage investment. Are we talking about seed all the way up to your Series A funding?
Yeah, so maybe I'll take that up as well. So I think one of the key things is that many a time when a startup actually starts at early stage, they might not have a lot of resources. And the question I always ask, what do we outsource? What do we insource and of the likes? I guess it really depends on the nature of the business and what it really is like. If you're going to position themselves as a technology-based business, then some forms of the core part of the business should be all done in-house, whereas some parts that's non-crucial business can be outsourced. But I guess one of the things as well is that many a time, if, for example, some people are marketplace-based kind of business, they might just use some forms of open source-based business and eventually drive traction, grow that, then eventually really invest any forms of funds that they've raised or the cash flow they have generated to reinvest into that. So I think at the end of the day, whether you talk about outsource or insource, it really depends on what they feel is fundamentally crucial for the business, both in the short term and eventually in the long term. But if they're eventually going to be a tech-based business in a longer-term basis, they will need to have some core competencies in that, because that will determine how effective, how competitive are they, and most probably, very importantly, how nimble are they in terms of reflecting to the market. So outsourcing at the start, most probably a lot of people do that, but I guess if it's core competency, that's something they need to have.
For early stage investment, my personal experience is there are a lot of innovators felt very excited over their product, but actually haven't gone and looked in the market that something similar would have existed in the market. For our audience here, how can you test it to know that there's not something already in market, or that you can collaborate before actually chew too much dollar going down that rabbit warrant?
And many times, right, there are usually so many startups out there. More often than not, you already have basically a competitor or someone within the space. But as very much saying, it's more importantly, it's what unique differentiation point is that specific problem solving. I mean, before Google, there was Yahoo. Before many other companies before that. Before Facebook, there was like Friendster. I'm not sure how many people remember that. But still, I guess end of the day, they tweak one or two small different things, yes, and they suddenly just really, really fly. Yes. Or maybe it's the right timing. So it's not so much about just having a company there. And many a time, sometimes there are a few companies that's a good thing as well, because it validates your idea. You're not any crazy guy thinking of it. Yes. So it's more about what's that secret sauce eventually to have that market validation, to solve a problem and get that form of traction.
Yes. Well, while Ben's sharing the figures, I'd like to share with the audience my little research on the unicorns. So the coined phrase, this phrase is coined by a VC lady, Eileen Lee, back in 2013. A unicorn is a startup company valued at more than US $1 billion. Now, 26% of the unicorns created between 2013 to 18 existed in China, 50% in US. Those figures are quite amazing. And then as at March 2018, China hosted 126 unicorns in 15 different industries. And that covers 10 cities. Total value at $625.3 billion US dollars. And the quick synopsis on what are the unicorns featuring in a high level concentration in culture, entertainment, e-commerce, and vehicle transport and fintech. And the 4 cities that have the unicorns are Hangzhou, Beijing, Shanghai, Shenzhen. So I just put it out there. What are your experience dealing with that, and what are these companies in there in turn? Because they form a very strong ecosystem to invest further in other startups.
My opinion, my personal opinion, is that don't just look at unicorn. Don't, look at the unicorn. Where's the liquidity? All right. My opinion is that in this market, very highly speculative. So when you look at setting up a business, don't just look at you want to be a unicorn, right? Look at how you can quickly scale, what problem you're trying to solve, and what position you want to take, right? Now, we see a lot of companies like Uber and all these guys, they got it right. They've got the core value. But until they've got SoftBank coming in and all this, every of these company, in my opinion, again, lose the core value and it become diluted, all right? The reason why, because the capital market took over to speculate this into a unicorn. And please remember, don't price yourself too high at the early stage because you're going to price yourself out, all right? Look at some of those unicorns today who has the money to buy them. Look at the liquidity, all right? So I want to tell you that today, don't just look at the glamour part of the thing. If you really want to stick to this business, make a very unique competitive environment, stay to your core value, all right?
Just rounding up on the conversation, for our early stage investment, or Australian company looking for investment from Asia, or particularly in China, how important is understanding the culture, the way of thinking in engaging or pitching right with the elevator pitch?
You need to, I got an office in Hong Kong and China, mainly in Nanjing and Shanghai. If you ask me this question, you need to find the people as your translator, I would call translator, how to read the Chinese language or how to read the Chinese people's mind. Maybe the people still speak the same language, okay, but it's different presentation. I give you something example. When I started, even I born in Hong Kong, I started just simplify Chinese and traditional Chinese. Okay, Google Translate. But it's not that simple.
No.
Okay, you speak in English and then translate into Chinese. But when the people look at that, they don't understand what you say and make you laugh because you doesn't present your actual core of the business. That's why you need to find the right people directly. The people can present your idea, your core of the business to the Chinese. I believe in Australia, a lot of opportunity you can expect into China. China people is welcome. 85 trillion, just 1% I get to Australia, easy now. But we have a little bit the boundary. Chinese speak Mandarin in English. And then no one have like the media. I meet one of the people, it's called cyber media, right? I like her explanation, the KP, is KP here? I'm the translator of the Cybersecurity. If we have like the WI as the translator of the VC fund to Chinese, today everyone can get more than $10 million funding from China.
Just go to him then.
Yes.
Okay,
Answer.
come to me.
I thought my Chinese colleague was going to say, be good at drinking at least as a start. I mean, it's all about relating to the culture.
I mean, Vincent.
Yes, 10 million, one bottle of
Yes,
Malta
yes.
first.
Yes, yes. I do wanted to add, I'm always trying to coach Western parties that I take, no offense, but to China, and the minute they saw the guy, general manager, shook their hand, there was a woman standing next to her and said, are you his wife? Well, she was the founder. So we talk about diversity, gender diversity, and I have come across so many founders, entrepreneurs that are female. And of course, even if they're married with a husband, they don't use or adopt the husband's surname. So it's just little subtlety that we don't know and we assume, right?
Yeah. That's why you need to find the right people. I agree with what this all professional advice that you need to find out the company what they want. I believe in China is a lot of opportunity. When you touch with China, you try to present find the company, you present what they want. And then find the right people to translate. Not in English to Chinese, translate your product your core into that pin into that point, they will be invested.
Okay.
Unfortunately, we're running out of time, and I wanted to thank you so much, panel. I created such a wonderful conversation. If any of your panel members going to stay for cocktail, maybe we can continue the conversation.
Of course, when there's drink, we are there.
Thank you. Thank you very much.